At this time, I'd like to introduce you to your moderator for the panel, and that is Sarah Harris. Thank you, Sarah. You're on.
Hello, I'm an electrical engineer. I can't turn things on anymore. But hi, I'm Sarah Harris. I'm the General Counsel of the USPTO, and I'm very excited to be a part of this program. And I want to thank you all for being here. And I also want to thank our amazing panelists. And one of the reasons I wanted to thank them is I sat down next to Lucinda Lewis when I first got here, and I introduced myself, and she said, I said, what are you doing here? And she goes, well, I was online last year, and I was so inspired I wanted to come back. And I'm like, oh, are you local? She said, no, I came from California. I'm like, really? She goes, yes. I sat and I listened to the presentations. I was inspired. And she'd done a lot of copyright work, but she went and she got a provisional patent application. She's working on starting a company based with some artificial intelligence. And I'm like, oh my God, it works. So I hope you all get as much out of this entire event as well as this panel as she did. And introduce yourself to her when she's done. But I mean, yeah, you say again, thank you for being here, because you're why we're here. And you know, we're here to serve you, and hopefully this panel will provide you information that's informative as well as useful. So I'm going to provide you a little overview of some factors that affect female entrepreneurs. And then I'm going to introduce you to the panelists who will provide you a lot of information about resources that are available for you when you're pursuing your ventures. So first, why are we here? Women entrepreneurs seem to be lagging behind in some areas relative to their male counterparts, but these areas are some areas where they could really be useful. For example, the U.S. Women's Chamber of Commerce did a study a couple of years ago, and they found that women-owned business were failing to achieve the revenues on par with their male-owned businesses. In another study released by Forbes at the beginning of this year, they found that in the past decade, the percentage of deals receiving funds with women on founding teams has nearly doubled from 7.9% to 15.7%. And the percentage of dollars for founder teams with women grew from 6.9% to 11.5%. So although we're trending up, these statistics are troubling, but we are seeing improvement. And why are investments in women-funded businesses, why are they on the rise? And the same Forbes article found that there's a really good reason. And I want to share this with you to inspire you, because they said that investments made in companies with a female founder perform 63% better than investments with all male founding teams. Businesses founded by women deliver twice as much per dollar invested than those founded by men. So if you had the opportunity to invest money, who would you invest with? I would invest with you all. So hopefully you'll get some resources while you're here. But before we move on to the panelists, I want to mention one other factor that we've heard some of this afternoon that's very important to the success of your business. Capital, very important. You have to have capital, but the other thing that you really need is you need to be able to protect that capital with intellectual property protection. And when I say intellectual property, it could be patents, trademarks, copyrights, trade secrets. Because it is well known that intellectual property protection is a critical component when getting venture capital funding. And women seem to be lagging behind in the patent space as well. Our 2019 USPTO Progress and Potential report shows that women are underrepresented in patenting, despite the fact that they represent almost 50% of the workforce and almost 20% of the STEM workforce. But they only account for 12% of the inventors listed on patents in 2015. So we have some work to do, but we're here to give you some options for trying to write these statistics. So with that said, we do really believe that the timing is right for you all to really thrive. So now I'm going to introduce our distinguished panelists. And in order to maximize our time with them, I'm only going to give you their name and their title so that you can go to your materials and read their bios. So first, I want to introduce Margot Dorfman. She's the CEO and co-founder of the U.S. Women's Chamber of Commerce. Next, we have Lucretia Norman. She's the founder and chief research advisor of STEM Time, ROC. Then we have Nina Roque, and she's the executive director of the National Women's Business Council. And finally, Jennifer Harchick, last but not least, works in our office. So she's the staff attorney in the Office of Enrollment and Discipline here at the USPTO. And that is the organization that represents the agency's pro bono efforts. So with that said, we're going to move on to our first topics. So I'm going to ask each one of you to describe your organizations and the resources that are available to the people in the audience today. So Margaret, will you start?
First off, how many small businesses are represented here? And how many are maybe considering starting a small business with what you're doing? Okay. So the U.S. Women's Chamber of Commerce is the national economic development organization for women. We actually branch between, we support women as careerists as well as entrepreneurs. So we are probably the only, in my mind, the only organization that does that. And as co-founder, the Women's Chamber of Commerce was actually an outgrowth of a newspaper that Terry Williams and I founded in Arizona in 1998. And at the time in Arizona, 51% of all small businesses were owned by women. Unfortunately, less than 2% of federal, state, local, government, and commercial contracts were going to women-owned firms. So because we owned a newspaper, we said, well, let's see what the women's organizations out there are doing. And we went out to all the organizations, and what we found was mostly luncheons. The topics at the lunch were dress for success, how to live your dream, work-life balance, or there was a sponsor trying to sell something. We said, oh, no wonder we have a problem. So with the Arizona Women's News, what we did, we started spotlighting the issue. We started by writing articles on women who had been successful and really trying to give details in terms of what their successes were and if there were problems. But the problem is with the newspaper, you have to sell ads, and we didn't have enough space. We only had 1,500 words max that we could give to this, and it was huge. So we took those the interviews live, and what we found was there were a lot of folks who were gaining good information, wanting more, and they wanted to join us. And we said, well, we're a for-profit newspaper. There's nothing to join. And then we heard from the leaders of the community of Arizona, the state, and the different cities, and Phoenix, you know, we want to serve on your board. We said, okay, we got something that's bigger than us. So we stepped back, and we realized we were serving a mission to develop leaders, accelerate economic growth, and providing a community voice for women. We said, well, economic growth, that's chamber, women's chamber. So we, in June of 2001, we said to our PR person, what do you think about the Arizona Women's Chamber? And 2 weeks later, above and below the fold, we're announcing the launch 10 days later. Okay, so at our launch, we had over 400 people attending. It was women and men, all ages, all ethnicities, from all over the state. And we said, okay, this is wonderful. But the very next day, we heard from hundreds around the US, what about us? Said, oh, this is still bigger than us. So we looked up USPTO, US Women's Chamber of Commerce, found there was none, quickly registered it, and moved to Washington, D.C. in October of 2001 and launched the US Women's Chamber of Commerce. When we got here, we realized there are a lot of organizations here. There are a lot of press releases. Everything looks wonderful. And we said, okay, but that's not us. We want to make change. So we ended up the first year going back out to the country to 28 markets. And from Delaware to Los Angeles, we asked, what do you need to do to grow your business? The first thing is we need access to contracts, especially larger ones, which are federal contracts. Then we need access to capital. And then we need access to affordable benefits to attract and retain good people. So that became our marching orders, and we came back and we chatted with all the small business offices for every agency to say, hey, Your numbers are not so good. There's a goal to have 5% of federal government contracts go to women-owned firms. You are not making 2%. What can we do to help? If they were appointed, they'd shut the door. There's a law in the books. It's a women-owned small business set-aside program. If you can get that implemented, you've given us the tool we need to help get more contracts to women-owned firms. So we did launch that path to make that happen. It included filing a lawsuit against the Small Business Administration for failure to implement the program because the law was on the books. We won that lawsuit and finally got to drop the lawsuit in March of 2011, where we also, at that point in time, applied to become a third-party certifier for the WSB program, which is an SBA program. So we are a third-party certifier now.
What does that mean?
So the third-party certification in the federal space, if you want to, there's certain contracts that are set aside for women-owned firms, and if you want to compete on those set-aside contracts, then they require you to be certified. And there's an 8A certification, HubZone certification, and a service-disabled veteran certification. So there are several. So today, again, we're the National Economic Development Organization for Women and Small Businesses. We are focused, I would say, if you say what's your unique differentiator, we are not funded by large corporations or politicos. We are independent, non-captive, so that we can go to bat for you and not worry that somebody's going to pull the rug out of us, under us, then we'd have to close our doors. So our model is based on our member support, the supporting members of women, small businesses, and we have some small business advocates, which are corporations who may sponsor an event, but the sponsorship is the same as you all, as firm. So our focus on federal contracts has made it that we do a lot of education. We build relationships with the key players in acquisition to help make sure that there is fair access. And the other thing about being independent, non-captive, is we also have the ability to be the watchdog here in DC. So we will rattle cages where cages aren't rattled because we don't have any fear. Nobody's going to come down on us, and if they do, well, too bad, because we're here in strength. So one of the things, there's another, 2 years ago, there was category management that came in, which is a larger contracts, fewer of them, a way the government's doing business. And the agencies came to us and said, we're having trouble meeting our goals because this is happening. Can you help us? So we created a forum where we had the Office of Procurement Policy present, we had the agencies present, we had small businesses, we had some of the congressional staffers present to have this dialogue, and we were able to get OFPP on the record to say, no, they're not trying to squelch small business. It's been 2 years. Unfortunately, today, in terms of the watchdog, women-owned firms have, there are 20% less women-owned firms being able to access these contracts. So we are continuing to work on that. In terms of what we have to offer, aside from those kind of key things that need to happen to make sure you have access to markets, we do a number of different policy things, and over the years we've worked on things like fair pay, family-friendly work environment, along with access to capital, and some of the other, some tax issues as it relates to small businesses. And then we have different meetings and events online, live. Tomorrow we have our spring summit. We start with the Hill Day. How many of you met with your congressional leaders? That's going to be on your next task because they need to know you're out there and what you're doing to support their community, and then also education for federal contracting of what the agencies are doing, and plus the opportunity to meet one-on-one, so we can help get you connected to the key people and the resources that you need to connect with.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. So there's a space between an idea and a solid plan to develop that idea, to bring the idea into fruition. I work to help people fill that space. That's the thing I like to do, and I'm actually pretty good at it. That being said, I work with a couple of organizations that provide me with resources in order to help people in those spaces. I separate them into two categories. In the first category, I contribute as a program director at the National Science Foundation. I mention that because it's in my bio, but I'm not here in that capacity because I'm not allowed to be today. So aside from the information that's provided online, I'm not authorized in this panel to provide any level of detailed information concerning the programs that NSF has available for businesses. I will say that NSF supports businesses both in contracts and in the grants aspect. And my personal, very personal advice would be that if you're interested in pursuing either of those, to go on the website, to read those things in detail, to make sure you contact those people in charge, to ask questions, to apply, then to reapply, then to ask more questions, then apply and reapply. In my second capacity, in my entrepreneurial space, the first thing I work with is a nonprofit. My nonprofit is called With Promise, which I'm very proud of. We provide scholarships to victims or survivors of human trafficking and their close family members that's also been affected. Now, how does that affect women and entrepreneurs, right? So often we look for avenues to give back, and we hope that those avenues are tax-deductible avenues. So With Promise is one of those means that you're able to give back. And in a capacity where the point of With Promise is to see how can we contribute to society in a substantial way. Educated individuals contribute to society in a substantial way. It makes improvements to that individual, to their households, to their communities, and to society at large. And so we, With Promise, believe once a victim does not mean always a victim. And we believe in supporting those strong individuals that move past the thing that happened to them to contribute to society in some amazing ways. And we believe they should have funded education. In another capacity, I work with STEM Time. I'm very proud of STEM Time too because that's another avenue that I use to help individuals take their idea from just simple idea to actually active plans. So we provide training, curriculum, course program assessment, consultations. The thing that we like to say differentiates us is that we strive to personalize each experience. So we add a hands-on element to each of our endeavors. So when you come into one of our programs or our courses, you're coming in as an individual. The course is catered so that you can personalize it so that when you leave, you have a plan in hand that fits you exactly.
Do people just go to the website and apply? I mean, how do you get involved in a program like that?
You could just go to the website and sign up, or you could just go to the website and then email me. Because I think it's best to ask questions and then you're comfortable with what you're actually signing up for. Was there another question? It's stem-time.com. You're welcome. I'm reading only because I'm presentation saturated, so I'm making sure I don't miss anything. So in the space of helping female entrepreneurs, I like to emphasize the fact that we do customize and personalize our training, our consultations. But many of the courses that we offer currently, many of our most popular ones are actually helpful for right now. For example, we have a From Idea to Inception. At some point in entrepreneurship, you have your idea, you run off with it, but there's a point before that where you're working on the idea, you're trying to clear up the fog, as you would say, around the idea so that you can strategically go from step to step. So we like to help at that point in this particular course. Another course we have that's extremely helpful is called Funding, Where Do I Start? So I've worked actually at a lot of organizations. I actually was a patent examiner some years ago. I was a turbo machinery patent examiner. So I worked at many organizations, and so in a lot of capacities, I've attended a lot of workshops on women in STEM, and working at the patent office actually inspired me to want to start my own business, and so on and so forth. So what we do is look at where you are. So some individuals have a tech idea. So I have to say I'm an engineer, I didn't say that, but that's also in my bio. And so our focus is mostly STEM focused because that's the thing that me and my team are specialized in. And so we could take that idea from tech idea or from education idea, but along the path of the STEM path. We offer, so yeah, that was the course, Funding and Where Do I Start? So all of our services are, of course, as I said before, based on hands-on activities, and they're catered to our individual situations. We want you to leave the experience with that next step in hand. We provide free handouts. Often this is information that I give out in forums such as these when I get asked questions after. And so some people just need the 1, 2, 3 step, all right, what do I do now? You know, you may not need the full course or the full consultation. So we're happy to give free handouts on each of our endeavors so that you're able to have that jump start just clearly there for free, no additional information. We also offer those things virtually and those things one-on-one. So virtually, you know, you're in a bigger forum, maybe there's more than one person, and this is more generalized, but the consultation is more hands-on-hand. This is specific for you. So we enjoy working with individuals also to design courses and services based on your needs. So often, especially in the entrepreneurial space, you have certain needs. One entrepreneur may not have the same need as the other entrepreneurs, especially depending on what field you're headed into. So we offer services that cater towards those things. So we're honored to work with entrepreneurs. Of course, we love working there from the very beginning, because at the very beginning, you see how this endeavor grows and changes a person's life. It can substantially add to the community on certain endeavors. So we like to start at the beginning, and we face each milestone step by step with those individuals.
Thank you.
Tough act to follow.
Yeah.
So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nina Roque. I'm the Executive Director of the National Women's Business Council. We were established in 1988. Tiffany actually alluded to this in the prior presentation. She mentioned the Credit Act in the 70s. So in 1988, and this is shocking to me because I was alive in 1988, there were some states that actually required that a woman that was seeking a business loan needed to have a co-signer, a male relative be the co-signer. We actually have heard stories of women business owners that had to ask their 18-year-old son to be the co-signer on a business loan.
In 1988?
1988. So the Women's Business Ownership Act was passed bipartisan in Congress, signed into law by President Reagan in '88, and established our council, the National Women's Business Council, to be the advocates, to be the mouthpiece for women entrepreneurs in government. So our mission is to provide independent advice and policy recommendations to Congress, the President, and the Administrator of the Small Business Administration. So we do that a number of ways. The actual council is comprised of 15 women from across the country. They represent diverse views politically, ethnicities, races, business sectors, geographic locations, all very diverse from across the country, from Idaho to Florida, Iowa, New York. And so together we come together and we talk about what are the issues that women entrepreneurs and business owners are facing, what are the challenges, but also what are the opportunities, and what can we recommend to our 3 stakeholders, to the President, Congress, and the SBA, to really move the needle forward for women entrepreneurs. So as a council, about 1.5 years ago, we got together and decided that the 3 prevailing issues were, of course, access to capital, and then the second was women entrepreneurs in STEM, the third being rural women's entrepreneurship. Rural, which is a little bit of a hard word for me. So of course, women in STEM, one of the reasons why I'm here today is really to talk about women entrepreneurs in STEM, what are some of those challenges, but also what are those opportunities. So as a council, we review programs within the federal government and provide advice and policy recommendations on those specific programs. So some of the programs could definitely be resources for you all. One of them being the Small Business Innovation Research Grant, which is conducted, I'm sure you know, are very familiar with that. 11 federal agencies have this grant program that allows small businesses to apply for this grant, and it allows the federal government to kind of fund their research and development needs through small businesses. That's the SBIR grant. The other program that I'll definitely point you to is the Women's Business Center program that's run out of the Small Business Administration. These are brick and mortar shops all over the country that provide business plan advice, provide counseling, provide mentorship, are able to kind of point you in the direction of other resources. And then other SBA resource partners include the Small Business Development Centers, which I'm sure you all are very familiar with, and the SCORE program. all across the country. You can definitely go onto the SBA website and take a look at where you can find some of these resource partners. In addition to that, we have 6 national women's business organizations that sit on the council, and they can all be resources to you all. One of them actually is the Association for Women in Science. They're going to be on the next panel. They definitely are a fabulous resource for women in STEM specifically. The Association for Women in Science is a new organization that sits on our council, and we're very excited to have them join us. Next month, we'll actually be in Houston, so if any of you here or joining on the live stream are in Houston, we would love to invite you to come to our roundtable in Houston, where we're going to be talking specifically on the women inventor rate, women in patents, and actually we will be partnering with USPTO down there as well. So some resources, looking forward to the conversation. Thank you.
Do you, I mean, if people were wanting to find out more, do they go to, do you have a website and you have a list of all those, or how do they engage with your organization?
Yeah, definitely. So nwbc.gov.gov. That's our website. We are happy to provide you on point you to those resources. And the main thing, main reason why we really want to connect with you all is because we want to hear what you're thinking. We want to hear what your challenges are. And we want to be able to connect your voice to policymakers in Washington, D.C. So we hold roundtables across the country where we listen to women entrepreneurs and business owners and those in the ecosystem. So we definitely love to hear from you. info@nwbc, and then our website, nwbc.gov.
Thank you.
Yeah,
very
thank
much.
you.
Jennifer?
Thank you, Sarah. Good afternoon. My name is Jennifer Harchick. I'm a staff attorney here in the Office of Enrollment and Discipline at the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office. Our office is responsible for overseeing patent and trademark practitioners who practice before our office, but also we are the office that oversees 2 very important pro bono programs that the office has. These 2 programs are the Law School Clinic Certification Program and the Patent Pro Bono Program. Has anybody heard of these 2 programs at all? Okay. I'm sorry? Mm-hmm. Yes, they're very popular, so you can see they're providing a lot of services to clients in the area. So, but keep applying. They always have spots available at certain times. The first program is mentioned was the Law School Clinic Certification Program. This program allows students who are in clinics of participating law schools to provide patent or trademark services to the public which are clients of the clinic under the supervision of a licensed attorney. So for the trademark clinic, the licensed attorney is a person who has practiced before the office filing and prosecuting trademark applications. For the patent clinic, the licensed professional is a registered patent attorney or patent agent, and they've also filed and practiced before our office filing patent applications. So it's not just students, there's registered practitioners, and there are licensed supervisors who oversee the students. If someone qualifies to be a client of this program, the services are free. So the legal services are free, and the client is responsible only for the fees of the USPTO, such as the filing fees and everything like that. Currently, we have 59 schools that participate in the program. 29 of these schools provide both patent and trademark services, 7 provide only patent services, and 23 provide trademark services. Of these, they do have some geographic limitation to where they accept clients from. They may say a particular state or group of states, but also there's many of these schools that provide their services all across the United States to individuals. So if for some reason your state does not have a law school that's participating in the program, don't worry, there's still the possibility that you may be able to seek services from this program from the schools who provide services all across the United States. I did bring some data on both programs. The law school program began in 2008, and we've been collecting filing data since that time. So from 2008 through the middle part of 2019, we are still collecting data on the last part of 2019, but through mid-2019, there have been over 960 patent applications filed through the program. And there have been over 3,660 trademark applications filed through the program. So once we receive the data for the last half of 2019, we expect those numbers to definitely increase. So there's been a lot going on with this program.
The program works. I mean, people are utilizing it, and they're able to protect their new innovations. So, it's been a real success.
Yeah, and they're definitely in demand, but I say, don't give up, always keep asking them, there's waiting lists that they have, definitely keep seeking their services.
And we're looking to bring on some more schools, which will hopefully alleviate any volume issues that they're having now.
Some of the schools do have waiting lists that they'll put you on a waiting list for services. Yeah. So the second program that our office oversees is the Patent Pro Bono program. This is a nationwide network of individually operated regional programs that match volunteer patent practitioners with independent inventors and entrepreneurs. The inventors must meet a certain financial threshold, and there are a few other criteria that must be met in order to in order to receive these services. One of the requirements is, the three main requirements are income, knowledge, and invention. For income, you must have a gross household income less than 3 times the federal poverty level guidelines. Some programs vary from this, but this is the main standard used by most of the programs. For the knowledge requirement, you must demonstrate knowledge of the patent system. This can be done in one of 2 ways. Either have already filed a provisional patent application with the USPTO, or there is a certificate training program that you can take, and if you successfully complete that, that demonstrates your knowledge requirement. There's also an invention requirement. You must be able to describe the particular features of your invention and how it works. I also have some interesting data for the Patent Pro Bono program. So the program's been collecting data from 2015 through 2019. In this time frame, the number of applicants placed with a volunteer patent practitioner is over 2,500 individuals. Of those numbers, about over 789 non-provisional patent applications have been filed. So of those 2,500, they've received some sort of counseling from a practitioner, and that's resulted in over 789 applications being filed. While most of the regional programs do not collect data based on demographics, there are 3 programs that do. The first one is Georgia Lawyers for the Arts, which services Georgia and Tennessee. In 2019, they matched 47 individuals with patent attorneys. Of that 47, 24 of them were women, which is a 51% match being women. The second program is California Inventors Assistance Program. They service California, Hawaii, Alaska, Oregon, and Nevada. In 2019, they placed 35 individuals with patent attorneys. Of those 35, 16 were female, and that is a 46% match being female. The third program is the Arts and Business Council of Greater Boston, which services Massachusetts, Vermont, New Hampshire, Rhode Island, and Maine. In 2019, they matched 22 participants. Of those 22, 8 were female, which is a 36% match being female. So as you can see, there's a lot of work being done by both of these programs, and they are very beneficial resources.
Thank you. So now, this information, obviously you can see I'm fascinated by it because I just did not appreciate how many resources there are available to people out there. So now I'd like to ask you each, like, can you each provide or describe what you believe is the biggest hurdle for a female entrepreneur and how they might overcome it?
Sure. And just, I was giving out the website. Website is uswcc.org if you want any information on the chamber. What we observe is, here we are, women.
Can you hear her? I think your mic is off.
Sorry about that.
Okay. Okay.
So it's uswcc.org, sorry. And what we find is that still the biggest challenge, we think, is access to markets. Now, women control 85% of the consumer spending. So you would think that we would have a little bit better statistics coming back at us. However, the large corporations and politicos, they see us as somebody to market to rather than somebody to open access to. So what, from an economic development organization point of view, is we need to have you join with us to focus the purchasing power and focus our activity to make the changes needed so that the doors are open for women and small businesses across the board.
Thank you. Risha?
Well, we all know the statistics. So the statistics show that how successful that women businesses are capable of being. They also show that there are a lot of biases in funding. So that being said, that's the number one thing. However, what I see as some of the biggest hurdles are actually a confidence in education. And I say confidence because I have formerly worked at the patent office and haven't been attended some of these. Often enough, women will get rejected and not reapply as often as men. In a lot of those rejections, I would say that there's information on why you were rejected. Coming from the other standpoint where I actually give people money, you can look at those rejections, and sometimes they're just minor rejections. But if you don't have the confidence to say that this rejection is not going to stop me from reapplying, then that's one of the things that hold you back. Another thing that I think serves as a hurdle is that education behind understanding how that data can support your reapplying. So the statistics show often enough that there's often a better chance of acquiring those funds the second time. But if you're not comfortable and confident in reapplying, and if you don't have the education to back the understanding of the reason for the rejection, then those can be some serious hurdles. Now, sometimes you don't have the information about the rejection. Sometimes those rejections are just biases or things you can't see. Again, coming from the other standpoint, even being on hiring councils, there are 1,000,001 silly reasons why those people don't get those positions or that person didn't get that funding. So you can't take those things personally. I would say that those are the hurdles that I think that women have.
Yeah, following up on what she said, the USPTO has been trying to identify why so few women are actually listed on patents. So we've been talking to a lot of stakeholders. And exactly what you said, like if a woman is in the patent process and they get a rejection, many times they'll go, okay, and they don't go back. It's they're respecting the system or something. So I think that it's kind of a common thread. So keep trying.
Common in patents and grants and in other funding avenues.
So I 100% agree, and I want to echo actually what I was going to say, confidence, but going on trying the second round, actually research has shown on the Small Business Innovation Research Grant that exactly that. The second round applications are more likely to get approved than the first round. The problem is women are applying for the second time at much lower rates than their male counterparts. So it's very important that we keep at it. On the confidence issue, so we do these roundtables across the country where we meet with women entrepreneurs. At the STEM roundtable that we had recently, we had a large university, someone from the computer science department attend, and she was saying that only 18% of the students in their department are women. And she said part of what happens is women and men start the degree at the same rates. women are getting B minuses, Bs, men are getting C pluses. The women are like, oh my God, I'm not doing good enough. I'm not getting an A. They start dropping off. The men are like, oh, I'm getting a C plus. This is fantastic. And they keep going. And then what ends up happening is you just have fewer women that are graduating with these degrees. And why it's important for us as on the business perspective, the National Women's Business Council, it's important to us because we know that these STEM businesses are the ones that are going to attract the dollars. They're the ones that are going to attract the investors. That's how we move the needle forward on that 2.7% of VC funding goes to women entrepreneurs. We need to make sure that women are also starting businesses in STEM fields and specifically in tech at the same rate as their male counterparts. We know that decreasing the gap between men and women in patenting rates is really what's going to drive the economy forward.
So I definitely echo with what my fellow panelists said. Patent services are expensive. Prior to coming to the office, I was a patent and trademark practitioner, so I know from the other side it is a pricey venture, but if there's something that's critical to your business or your development, may very well be well worth spending the money, but also seeking those services that are out there that are for free. The law school program, the patent pro bono program. There's a lot of other resources on the USPTO's website, educational videos. So definitely try to take advantage as much of that as you can and educate yourself because it is a complex system and it's something that takes some time to learn, but there are resources out there.
Okay. So we have like 5 to 7 minutes left, and I have 2 questions. So I'm going to let you answer either of them. The one is like, if you could give one piece of advice, what would it be? And the other is, what's your best success story from your organization? So you got to answer either, or if you could do it really fast, both. When do you hear these? So.
Well, I'll do the advice. And first of all, I want to say congratulations because you're doing what you should be doing. I walk into the office door and I walk down the aisle with the Post-its and I'm looking at these pricey things and I look next to them because I don't want to spend that money at the mousy yellow ones where they Post-it said, oh, okay, generic brand, you can be mousy yellow. And then I look over and I see bright colors and I see sizes and lines and I gotta have lines and I buy them. And as I'm walking out going, I wish that I had invented these. Where would my life be? And here you are actually going forward and starting to establish your version of the Post-it. And I think that's phenomenal. Remember that the Post-it didn't just suddenly become popular and famous. It had other things to do. Do you have a business plan? Do you have a marketing plan? Have you talked to those who have been successful before you and gotten their input? Make sure you use the resources that are available to you at all times, and then go ahead and step forward and take the steps necessary to make it, because you're strong, powerful women. We have the numbers, we can be successful, and so go out and conquer.
Thank you.
Speaking of women in STEM, again, in my bio, you may have read that I'm an aerospace engineer. So echoing the fact that there are so many words and situations that you could be put in for rejection. So from beginning to end, from the beginning of coursework, and we try to keep women in STEM, even from bachelor's degrees, master's degrees, so on and so forth, down to entrepreneurship and a career path, the rejections are always there. My advice would be you just use the rejections as part of the process. I'll give a quick example. My colleague and I generally apply to the same grants because she and I have the same skill set, and so we feed off each other. If one wins, great. And so one year we applied for 2 grants. The first grant was for a travel grant for $2,000. I didn't get the travel grant, but she got the travel grant. So I cheered hooray for her, but I was a little hurt that I didn't get the travel grant. But I never take rejection as that thing that I can't do. So then I applied to the next grant, and I asked her to apply, but she was a little nervous about applying because she just went through all that to get the $2,000, and she didn't want to apply to the next grant because she didn't want to go through the rejection process. Well, I ended up getting that grant and spending 6 months in the Caribbean teaching aviation courses So that first rejection for the
$2,000
2,000.
Caribbean. I don't know who won there.
So had I been hurt and given up, even though I was hurt, but had I used it as the thing to say, well, I'm exhausted and I can't just apply for the next thing, then I wouldn't have had such an amazing last year.
So don't give up.
Never give up. No.
So kind of picking back off my previous answer, I would say it's to seek mentorship and community. So not just seeking a mentor in your field, but also making sure that you have a sponsor, someone that's gonna take you to that next level, take you into the room, take you to this conference, take you wherever it is that you're trying to go, whether, if you're a woman, whether that's a man, that's okay. Just make sure that you have mentors. Make sure that you join organizations like Margaret's, like our council members, and make sure that you just keep going and that you bring, whenever you get there, you bring other people with you.
Thank you. I would say keep pursuing your goals. I know that's pretty broad, but your goal is achievable. It may not be the path that you think at first. Be open to various opportunities. If one road closes, look for another path. There is a way. If it's something you really want, there is a way. Find it. Keep coming to things like these symposiums to educate yourself and be aware of the resources that are out there. And you take advantage of every opportunity you can.
So I'm going to take advantage of being the moderator and use shameless promotion for the USPTO. If you go to our uspto.gov site, right on the front page is a section new to IP. If you're just starting out and want to learn about intellectual property resources and learn more about the two programs that Jennifer mentioned, they're there, and it has a whole host of other information, so I recommend you go there. That would be my advice. So now we're going to open it up for questions if anybody has any. Oh, come on. With all these resources? Y'all were...
Oops. Hello, ladies. I want, besides not coming up with Post-it first, what was one of your biggest, I would say business mistakes or most expensive business mistakes that you made early on?
Oh, there's a question. I think, I don't know if there's a mistake. I think where I struggled most, there were times where, from the newspaper era, when we had to make that decision of whether to hire somebody or maybe pay a personal bill. But we were at the time of growth, and so we hired people, and because funding is a problem, we didn't have a loan. We put things on the credit card and stacked that up, and fortunately, we're able to get out of that, but that became, if you talk about a big mistake, that kind of was, because getting out of that was much more difficult when you're paying 20 to 30%, 25 to 30% on interest versus getting a loan, which we couldn't get at, much 10% or whatever it was at the time. So, to answer your question.
My biggest mistake one year, I wasted $182,000 because I hadn't done my market research ahead of time.
Hence the advice on doing a business and marketing plan.
Needless to say, I won't do that again, but yeah.
Nina?
So I can just add that from what I've seen going across the country and talking to women entrepreneurs, that it's important. Financial literacy is very important when starting a business, and making sure that you understand your own credit score, that you understand how to build business credit as opposed to your personal credit, making sure that you're connected to either a banker or one of those organizations that can help you work on your business credit and really understand what that means and what that means for your business.
Well, I can't really say I've had a mistake in business because I've been an attorney, but early on in my career, I do feel like I was the subject of not necessarily discrimination, but I was treated unfairly compared to my male counterparts. And so in that position, I could have either just said, okay, this isn't for me, and just left, but instead just keep pursuing it, found the different avenue, decided that place wasn't for me, and moved forward to better job opportunities. So always keep moving forward.
Thank you.
She was here first.
Good afternoon. My name is Cheryl Marr, and thank you guys all for being here today. This was a really excellent panel. So Nina brought up something that I thought was really interesting about the aspect of having a mentor, a community, or a sponsor to kind of take you along this path and teach you what to do, what not to do, knowing that you will probably get rejected the first 1, 2, or N+ times. So what would you recommend or your advice for identifying these mentors in these communities and how to really engage and get involved?
Yeah, so I'll start. I found a lot of mentorship. I'm not in the business sector, I'm in the public policy sector, but I found a lot of my mentorship with a nonprofit organization that I had an internship with. And we had like a matched mentorship system, which you don't always form an organic relationship there. But I've heard that you can find the similar on the business sector as well. So joining that Chamber of Commerce, can really help to find someone that has similar interests in you, whether that's a Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, if that maybe feels more comfortable to you, or a Women's Chamber of Commerce. I think that's where you can really find a mentorship that they have, may have similar interests in you than you.
I mean, I don't know on the business side, but on the legal side, I did the same thing. I joined organizations and that I'd try to find the smartest person that seemed to be saying things that really resonated with me. And I just walked up to him and say, hi, I respect everything you're saying. Would you consider mentoring me? And most people will say yes, because it's a huge compliment.
Absolutely.
Right.
Ask them for coffee.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, ladies. My name is Michelle Williams. Thank you very much for being here. I have 2 questions. The first one is, when looking for grants, where do you suggest that we start, just as a launching pad? And the second one is, are there other programs when you don't fit into the pro bono profile for?
Where I start when I'm looking for a grant is, I do some weird Google thing, but where I start is to start with my topic area. So there's a range of places to get them from the private sector, from the government sector. And so the first thing to do is to not limit yourself on which path you're going to take to pursue those grants. So you start off with the topic, and you're looking for that specific need, and you build that need to see which organizations generally fit that need. So even if you were thinking about getting a Walmart education grant or something like that, so you have to first of all set your range, which means that you have no range to start. And then you go with your specific topic area, then you fit those, and then you can start to filter based on your topic area, which organizations support those, which has supported them in the past, and which places that might be interested in support them in the future. From searching websites to going to different forums like this and talking to individuals to find out where they're getting their funding are ways to do that.
So if you don't qualify for one of the pro bono programs, our office does have a listing of all registered patent practitioners. And so that would be somewhere you could start as well to seek qualified individuals to help with the patent application.
And there's always a possibility that they could take it on a contingency basis. But the USPTO also has pro bono assistant, pro se assistant programs. So people that actually file directly with us can get we can't give legal advice, but we can help guide you through the process. But those are the 2 that I know of. And I think we're out of time. Okay. Thank you all. Thank you to our panelists. It was really great.